This is a very big change. Normal, Heroic, and Mythic all come out on the same day, and that day is it's the week of December 12th, which I think means December 13th/14th for the Tuesday, Wednesday for US and EU.
Love to see it.
And this is a big old change. Yeah. So Mythic Plus Loot will not be capped. That is as a result of Mythic Raid being available on that day as well. Yeah. So, fairly interesting. They have not done this before. It always used to be the case that Mythic would be out a bit later. Another nice thing for Mythic 2 is that it will actually be cross-faction from the very beginning, but there is a caveat. 16 out of the 20 people have got to be in the same faction and guild in order to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. I can understand them doing that. Overall, I just think that, like, hey, cross-faction Mythic, that's definitely good.
No, well, actually, that being you can cross-faction Mythic and it's only the Hall of Fame, that's great.
Yeah.
Because one of the problems of doing that and not having guild stuff is, as we actually kind of saw a little bit with, I remember Dakar pointed it out to me, it was like the last bunch of, I think it was Alliance Hall of Fame in 9.2 there. There was like one Chinese guild cleared it and got like 95th or 96th or something. Maybe it was a bit higher than that. And the next like 4 kills were like basically 10 minutes after each other, all also Chinese guilds. And someone's just like, hang on, what's going on here? Did the players just, did they just do something a bit funky there? I'm like, so they have to uphold the integrity of the Hall of Fame. But this just means you can do Mythic better. So, yeah, great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. Break down all the barriers, putting that are built to stop players from playing the game the way they want to. Crazy.
Yeah, and then I think about, like, you could probably say, oh, what about the loot concerns? What about... I don't give a shit.
No,
I think
one
for most people, it's actually, that stuff's not that important. You can probably conjure up in your head, oh no, this will be terrible. The guilds won't know what to do. Do they clear Heroic for gear? Do they go into Mythic? That's not actually a problem. It's not a problem for the vast majority of people playing the game. You just put the content in there, people will play it.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah, just embrace the Kusoge energy. Like, make this game as dumb and crazy as feasibly possible. There's even, like, I replied to Scarzard's, like, promotion tweet, and, like, good, use your seniority to put in unhinged ideas. Make this game crazy stupid. Please. That's what it needs to be fun.
Yeah.
Crazy stupidity.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, there's always... and we're also focused on this because I think it's a human default, right? Like, it's more important to not get killed by a bear than it is to go get a few more berries, right? Yeah. We're just always, we are risk averse. So I think that means it's always easy to just think of 500,000 reasons not to do something. And I think as well, when you're in a situation where players will readily find every single problem and tell you about them, I think that can create a very defensive... I guess like a defensive development environment, right? Yeah. Where you're more concerned with not pissing people off than you are doing the cool shit.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's like, will maybe a few people mauled out? Maybe. Will there be some frustration over, like, technically some stuff going on over Christmas? Yeah, but you don't need to play it.
Yeah. So
you don't need to play it if your guild's forcing you to raid over Christmas. Like, sorry, but fuck your guild. They're shit.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. I would say maybe that guild is oriented of players who don't particularly value Christmas very much,
You're very diplomatic.
For whatever culture reason, and do want to just play stuff over there, because there's plenty of people like that.
That's fair.
Especially, Christmas is a very interesting time of year.
Yeah, that's true and fair. But
yeah,
if your guild's not going to give you the fucking respect anyway, respect whatever holidays you have, like, fuck that, right? So I think that's another good example of one of those things that's like, yes, this is technically a problem. Is it really a problem of the games?
No.
Because I saw these people, like, on Twitter who are furious about, like, Raiders need a Christmas break too.
Did they take one?
No one's making you raid! You're doing that!
Yeah.
You're doing that! And you don't need to come first. It's not a race. I mean, it's a race for a tiny number of people.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes the rest of us feel like we need to do it as a race as well. But what I've really realized is those sorts of things they're kind of not important.
But if you're in a game and in a games industry that consistently pushes FOMO as something very important people to, like, get caught up in, then that's what happens. It's always be part of the cultural event of the patch release, of the expansion release. And that's always going to be true. So there's a little bit of, like, you do have to operate around that as a developer. but you also have to operate like kind of, no, let's not do something like, let's really not do something like that. Let's
Go like you love to. Oh no, playing games during the Christmas break. The horror. I know, it's terrible. Oh god, I'm going to like level my professions during Christmas. Oh no.
yeah, I mean,
Because like doing any of those delays, that's just robbing game content for people who otherwise would enjoy it in their holiday. So, you know, it's fine. It's totally fine.
yeah, that's a weird thing. My perspective, I don't get to play much games over Christmas. I go home to my family and I don't have like a gaming laptop. And also I like to spend time with them. So I actually play more games outside of Christmas generally. But yeah, that's something. I wanted to go back to say something because, yeah, you were talking about how they design defensively for risk-averse players.
Yeah.
And how players spot out problems. I was talking about this in regards in the video from last week on the job drama over at the Machinist in FF. And I was talking about how people, generally speaking, players are really good at spotting problems. They're really good at spotting problems and they're really good at giving immediate solutions to those problems, right?
Yeah.
So they'll go, here's a problem we found, here's a solution. But what players are bad at is thinking those problems through a lot. They will go, well, this solves the problem, so sure. Players don't have either the desire to nor the responsibility to actually think of second and third order effects. They're not going to go, well, what is the long-term impact on the entire player base of this change? They're going to go, this fixes this player group's problem, so let's go for it. And developers have like the opposite problem, where developers are always like, oh, what about the larger player base instead of that? And someone someone in the comments put it really well. I'm actually annoyed I didn't see it before, but it was the players can't see the forest for the trees, and the developers can't see the trees for the forest.
Oh shit, that's really good.
Yeah, so it's this incredible like kind of, oh yeah, there's just two very different perspectives, and there's like the truth is somewhere in the middle of caring for the trees and the forest at the same time, and that's a kind of awkward thing that World of Warcraft, because it's so like close and people are so close to the game as well, that just happens all the time. Where it's like, yeah, sometimes players are right, sometimes devs are right. We're not always all right all the time. So it's like finding the balance of, and ultimately it's the dev's responsibility to be able to pick out what player solutions are right and go, that's a good solution, player, but here's all the reasons why it won't work. And then for players not to go, those don't matter. That's the trap the boys fall into with like interviews and stuff. So it's about that kind of having open minds, knowing, yeah, there's the trees and the forest. Both of these things need to coexist. But that was something that that I thought is very, very applicable to how World of Warcraft's always had player feedback issues, to put it very, very lightly.
Yeah, I think it's a near universal problem with live games.
Yep.
But I think one that did go through, you know, admittedly a pretty funky culture and some weird shit. So that is a lot of the big news from yesterday, which is pretty crazy.